My name is Clara Towson, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
I am Francisca George, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Susan Leemans, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom. Yeah.
My name is Zainab Summers, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hey guys, my name is Sasha Vickery, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hi, my name is Lloyd Harris, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Jan Faria, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Yes.
Take one. Well done.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Paolini, and I'm a friend of the show.
Wow, Jasmine, you got it in one time.
Ready? Play.
And we are back.
There we are.
Thrilled as ever. Damien looks ready to roll.
I'm just, let's just go. I mean, I was already in the mood, I was already middle of the preview, and then suddenly,
Wait, save it for the preview. Right, let's go. Let's do women's final first. Okay, so
okay, I like that. Switch it up.
Paolini versus Gauff. I don't know their head-to-head off the top of my head. Damien probably does.
It's women's tennis. I don't know anything.
It's sorry,
2-1. I'll go. It's 2-1.
Yeah, Brenna, you just go.
It's 2-1 in favor of Coco. They just played, actually. I don't know why I'm not really remembering this match, but in Stuttgart, where Paolini won 4-3. And then they played in 2023 in Cincinnati, where Gauff beat Paolini in straights. And then it was Adelaide in 2021, where Coco beat Paolini in 3. I don't know. I'm not really remembering that Stuttgart match well.
I think Stuttgart was kind of just a blur until the final, to be honest, where Ostapenko, apart from Ostapenko, who was just crushing it that week after she beat Iga again. And then what beat Sabalenka as well was just a great week for her.
Got it. Well, look, I guess it's a great week to talk about Italian tennis, having Italians in both the men's and women's final in Rome. How fitting. Can they get it done? I'm not so sure. I think Paolini's run has been great, but I feel like it's been defined by a series of, comebacks where she's hanging on by a thread and kind of getting you at the right time. And then it's just kind of a long road back once you start making every ball and, gets a little bit more out of her serve and gets the crowd behind her. I feel like that's kind of been the story of the week. But I don't know. For me, Coco has continued to impress and, getting out of trouble. And, I feel like even in the Andreeva match, having that mental edge, and it's just feels like, it's Andreeva who has to, take the chances or, play maybe a little bit more out of her comfort zone, and Coco's just locked in, making, limiting her errors and, capitalizing in the tight moments. So I feel like she's earned her way to get here maybe a little bit more than Paolini has. Yeah, I mean, coming out of that Andreeva Sabalenka Gauff cluster, definitely that was something that, the winner of that was always going to be the favorite in the final. She beat both of these. Oh, she actually didn't beat Sabalenka, sorry. She beat Zheng and Andreeva, which, Zheng also belonged in that cluster a little bit. Although less so, I guess, than the other players. But yeah, she just woke up sort of during the Madrid-Rome double. It would be amazing for her to just finish it off with the title. I do think she kind of deserves it, but it's always very tough to know what to do with Paolini. There are so many matches where it seems like, it's not like she can't win, but basically the opponent, if they play well, they should be able to get this done. And then, Diana Schneider's second set happens and
Jasmine just kind of has so much grit, and especially with the home crowd as well. I don't know how she reacts to playing in like a big final at home. There's gonna be like the president of Italy, I think, is gonna show up. So it's like all sorts of added extra pressure. I think it would make more sense, kind of like tennis wise, if Coco Gauff ended up claiming this title. But it's very tough with Paolini always.
What happens if the Pope's in attendance?
Well, Mario's come home, hasn't he? So we'll never know, I guess.
I mean, he's American. All right. Anyway, Fergus, your thoughts?
Yeah. I think it's gonna be. Gauff is my favorite here. Combination of stuff with Paolini, home pressure in a big final. You know, she made 2 slam finals last year and lost them both, unfortunately. But and you know, I feel as though if Gauff's serve is firing, then I feel like Gauff can get this done in straights. But you know, with the Zheng match, I mean, it was a long one, and the serve was definitely not firing. So Paolini's going to get a lot more looks at second serves, and you know, with the way that Coco's second serve's been going this year, it's been very up and down. So we'll have to see. But you know, I do believe that this was probably Coco's to kind of take, but we'll see what happens in a sense. I think that with the way that Coco's played this week, she's kind of found a way to win even when she's not playing her best, which is kind of what like Sabalenka's been doing for the last couple of weeks, even though she's been playing great. But when she doesn't play great, she kind of comes through. But yeah, I'm going to say Gauff with a mixture of home pressure and, you know, servability.
Yeah. I don't really have anything more to say, to be honest. There's a bit of a quality gap. There's that Madrid-Rome, you know, double where Coco has just been kind of fantastic since losing an opening set to Diana Yastremska, the bagel. She looks like she might be a threat at Roland Garros. Obviously, the last 3 years she's only losing to Iga, who is not exactly in the prime of her career at the moment. So, yeah, as long as there's not like any big hiccups on the way for her, which as Dave is suggesting in the chat, with the serve, that's kind of where usually the hiccups lie, even more so than with the forehand recently. She's probably the one who's gonna take it, but it's not an easy matchup also because there's like so much that can happen in every rally. There's no like easy patterns for anyone really, so it's definitely gonna be a fight of sorts.
It could get pretty physical as well. And if Paolini can make it as physical as possible, I do expect her to have a bigger chance, especially with how much tennis Coco's played in the last couple of weeks. Yeah, it could get pretty physical, and then Paolini's definitely a lot more in the game. But if Coco can shorten the points as much as possible and shorten her service games as much as possible, then, you know, I think, you know, I think Coco comes through.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my last thing to add is, even if it's not short balls, it's like Paolini trying to extend the rally, which she's like pretty much relied on in her last few matches, you know, in terms of just like playing to Schneider's backhand or, you know, Stern's just like totally mentally gone. You know, I feel like if Coco just like doesn't play into that, you know, narrative and doesn't break down mentally, physically, like there's really not much that Paolini can do besides, I guess, like hitting out of her shoes. And that, you know, she can do, but it just takes a lot of, I guess, rhythm and confidence to do that. And what feels like another just like huge match for her. I don't know if she's going to be able to bring her A game. So that's that. Shall we move into the men's side? We'll return to it.
Finally a matchup that everyone's wanting to see. Now, Damien was halfway through a rant before he was cut off. So we'll let Damien literally rewind and hit play on his rant. So if you can remember word for word what you were saying, that'd be great.
Not word for word. I think I was just saying that basically the match today, what we got out of it in terms of Sinner was just the fact that he had some physical issues as usual. As usual with Jannik, it's kind of tough to say whether this is, something serious or not. But there were these two games, more or less, when he wasn't covering his forehand corner well or not. Like with him, so there's just so many physical cues that you don't know what is actually serious or not. But if he was also hurt in the rallies, that's kind of bringing up some questions in regards to his physical states ahead of the Sunday final. Mostly because, it's just right after his return, and he's played a few matches that kind of stacks up against you, even if most of them have been pretty short. And if it was best of 5, I'd kind of still like the Alcaraz chances simply because of what we saw last year. So many of their matches, it was like Jannik comes out with incredible tennis for the first 30 minutes or so. It looks like it might be almost like double bagelish results. And then Carlos just finds a way against Jannik. He's actually a very good tactician all of a sudden. And there were the slices in Indian Wells. There was the moon bowling at Roland Garros. Can he do it here? Kind of like, on Jannik's court, and also best of 3, less time to produce stuff, less time to like use the fact that like over Sinner, he kind of only has, the higher number of options. Like that's the only thing he has over Sinner, because shot for shot Sinner is just insane. So if we ignore the hamstring, if we ignore any physical issues, I think it's pretty much close to a 50-50, and it's fascinating to get this matchup here. First of all, because it's their first big final and the biggest match they've played, sort of. I mean, it's probably comparable to Roland Garros semi, especially considering that's the one who won it also won the title. But also because, it's just 2 weeks ahead of Roland Garros. So it's like a perfect lead up to this event to have a matchup between the top 2 seeds, between the top 2 contenders, and 2 players who are very likely to even meet in that final in Paris again.
Yeah, I think... Yeah, Ashley, you're asking about the hamstring. We're talking about Sinner. A little bit during the third set, he was kind of pulling up on some running forehands, grabbing the hamstring. And it sounds like, I obviously did not listen to the press conference, but there was a long pause in the post-match interview before he answered a question about the hamstring. So, it seems to be downplaying it, which is very Jannik Sinner-esque. And, obviously, as viewers, we hope that there is, nothing there to it. But what I was saying, like before I got cut off, is the fact that, Jannik Sinner has come out and won the first set, multiple times in this matchup. And I feel like that's another thing that Carlos does better with, I guess, like moving along in a match and, picking up rhythm and kind of problem solving a little bit more. Whereas Sinner doesn't really have like, maybe like a plan B in a sense. I feel like Carlos is very on the fly himself, but you feel like, you're going to get with Sinner and he's just going to continue to do it over time. And hopefully that wears you down. Whereas Carlos can kind of present different, I'd say just like weaponry and ability. And it can kind of come out in variance throughout obviously a best of 5, but even a 3 set, he has dropped that, the first set like 6-1 and still found ways. So I just think that's something I'm also thinking about.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see how physical Alcaraz makes it, obviously, with the hamstring and stuff. That's our main talking point. There's nothing, that's the only thing we can take from this Sinner-Paul match. In a very strange match, no real consistency or fluidity to it. Just some brutal shot making from time to time, and 2 sets that were, complete opposites and so similar in the same way. But in the final, it's going to be, who can make more of those ridiculous shots that make the highlight reel in a sense. Like everyone's has been waiting for this sort of matchup for such a long time in this sort of situation, and everyone's there to see how high the quality can get almost. They're pushing the boundaries all the time, and whether they can, whether it is that it goes 7-6, 6-7, 7-6, that would be kind of what everyone's looking at. But I favor Alcaraz mainly because you take the pace off, and and Sinner is less comfortable with the less pace you give him. You know, watching that Indian Wells match last year, you know, the more pace that Alcaraz struck the ball back at Sinner, the easier Sinner made it look to just divert that pace straight back onto Alcaraz. You know, and Alcaraz looks a little more in discomfort when Sinner, you know, gives him less time on the ball. So yeah, we'll see. But when it's slower, you know, he sends it, gives it more airtime. You know, Sinner has to generate his own power. Not saying that Sinner can't generate his own power, because he's still the best in the world at creating it, but he looks less comfortable than when you give him the pace, which Alcaraz clearly has on his forehand and his backhand.
Yeah, it's the biggest matchup in tennis for sure. I think it was in 2024 already. It seems to be the one that will like decide this generation, this era. So I think that's absolutely fantastic that we're getting it. Hopefully, there's no physical question marks for either player. And yeah, just to have this ahead of Roland Garros, I do think it's a good privilege to have for sure. And it's going to change a lot of our opinions as well. Like regardless of what we're going to see in this one, I think it's going to change a lot of our opinions regarding of the power rankings ahead of RG. They're clearly the top two favorites regardless. Nobody else really compares right now. I would say for now Alcaraz is slightly ahead, but ask me this question again if Jannik beats him on Sunday, because the answers might be very different by then. So this is really quite pivotal in both the long term and the short term of tennis.
Spot on. Looking forward to it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean,
I would like it if it went to like a third set break and Sinner had no physical issues. I feel like that would be like a really nice sort of like way to top off this sort of like rivalry for the game. And, that's what, these two are so well matched that you kind of hope it gets that close. Like it's almost like it's like 12-10 in a third set tiebreak, and there's like everyone's kind of expecting this match to be like the Sabalenka-Swiatek match in Madrid final every single time they play, right? But it's not going to be. It can't be like that every single time, otherwise that'd be crazy. But yeah.
Could it be a setback for the entire ATP if it's a blowout? I mean, if it's a blowout in Carlos's favor, you're always gonna say slow clay. Jannik just came back, so there's like a lot of potential, excuses in a way, even though it wouldn't need an excuse. If Jannik wins and like he just starts winning 50 matches, it's still a big story then, because he's Italian. There's a big market there right now. Obviously, we have, as one of you mentioned, 2 finalists, both sides. So yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a setback either way, really. It could be potentially more in Jannik's, but not really. I mean, the story of domination is also one that, at least for a while, is definitely marketable.
Right. I mean, this tournament alone, getting here, depending on your knowledge of tennis, the opponents he had to play, obviously very difficult. And Casper Ruud, I mean, speaks for itself. So, like, we already have plenty of storyline to go off of, and just hope we get a good one and then get to see it again in 3 weeks.
When was the last time someone won a slam without dropping a set? I'm just curious. Was it Novak, US Open?
Novak has never won a slam without dropping a set. Rafa did it 4 times. Federer had done it 3 times. Is the last one Federer 2017 Wimbledon after Rafa did it in 2017 at the French? It might be. I'm semi-guessing here.
I can't think of any, like, there's nothing that sticks out saying that there was.
Yeah, I think it might be Federer 2017 Wimbledon, but I'm not sure. He did it like 3 times, or maybe 2 just actually. Yeah, I think just 2, 2007 Australia and 2017 Wimbledon, and Rafa did it 4 times, I believe. I mean, literal number 1 has played tennis his whole life. I understand what you mean, Pubert, but the only thing that the break means is not with Sinner's level. It's with Sinner's physicality and just the fact that if you haven't competed in a few months, it's not that easy to play 6 matches in a row. So that's the only thing that we're talking about in terms of the break. Like, obviously the Sinner level, he was just playing anyway, right? I mean, I don't care, like the whole practice ban thing, it's not actually, he was obviously still able to practice, just not in like official capacity, let's say. So yeah, I mean, we were expecting his level to be high, but it's not always easy to just like jump back into it. It's not, you're never really going to be able to like mimic the competition, mimic like the whole feel of playing a tournament. Obviously, he's done that very well so far. Now it's just like whether the 6 matches kind of stuck up against him or not. Today, we've seen some indication that they might. But then again, if he's saying that all the issues with like covering his forehand corner in the third set, that it's just the blister, then maybe that's not bad. I mean, that's not tennis ghosty though. That's like any WADA right thing, right? Because not in official capacity. I mean, you can train on your own. You just can't train at like a club or whatever, right? But I mean, that's not really a tennis related thing.
Yeah.
That's any sport that the agency covers, which is probably like almost every sport.
Every sport, yeah.
All right. Any final thoughts?
Let's do it, guys.
I'd like to
bring it on.
I'd like to bet my house that Alcaraz wins 6-4 in the third to Damien.
6-4 in the third?
6-4 in the third, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, sure. That makes sense. That's a bet that you can actually, get that house back. That it has to be something bold. It has to be something brave. And calling the correct score, yeah, it is great.
That checks the box.
Okay. Yeah, okay, fine. But I'm betting Brenner's house, not mine, because you already have my house. So,
Yeah. That works.
Both finals will be live on the channel. We'll have James and I think Carson tomorrow for the women's final. And the men's final is a surprise for everyone that tunes in, but please do tune in.
Is it a surprise simply because we don't know yet?
I believe so. I believe so.
Cool.
But everyone loves a surprise.
Is it 4 p.m. or is it just a placeholder?
It's at
it
is.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that's about right.
Just a guess. But probably will be at 5 then if the women's singles final is at 5.
Yeah,
I'm
it's 5
asking
p.m.
for no reason, to be honest, simply because I will have some like stuff to like set around it on Sunday. Not for the stream, I don't think I will be able to join, but for some other activities that I don't think should be done during the Rome final. Anyway, it's gonna be a big thing. I hope they schedule the Bordeaux and Turin finals earlier as well, so that the people can watch. I will obviously be focusing on these. But...
Obviously, you will be. Yes, I will never forget when you left the AO final to go watch the block. Who was it? It was Block.
Oh, Blocks against Drax in
Uerash.
Okay,
yeah. But to be fair, I don't blame you. The AO final was a complete washout.
Yeah, I mean, regardless, even if it was Sinner Alcaraz going 5.5 hours, I would still.
Yeah, I know you still wouldn't, would you?
But
yeah,
indeed, in that case, I mean, it didn't hurt at all. No.
Yeah,
I am drug running. Okay. Sure. Why not?
Nerlan, if on Monday morning all the newspapers read Sinner tie broken as the headline, I will personally give you £20.
That's not much.
Okay, I'll give you. Actually, no, I'm not going to say anything else. Just Damien.
I'm gonna send you some of these drugs that I'm apparently running.
Yeah, there you go. That sounds better. Okay.
In his
We'll all go
ping-pong
to
paddles?
Turkey and eat some turkey with Nurlan.
Eat some turkey in Turkey?
Yes.
Excellent. Can't wait.
Interestingly, I don't think Turkey is even such a turkey eating country.
Eating country? Yeah, I was about to say, I don't think they do much of that, to be honest. Anyway, lots of tennis talk in the last 5 minutes or so. But thank you all for tuning in for about 25 minutes after the monstrosity that was that Paul Sinner match. And we will see, hopefully, all of you for the women's final tomorrow. And if not there, then the men's final on Sunday. Hopefully, John has the video right there, ready to click the button. So
The producer.
The producer. So thank you very much, Damien and Brenna, and I'll see you both very soon.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.